An unofficial tribunal in London investigating China's treatment of the Uyghur minority has found evidence of crimes against humanity and genocide. The findings detail systematic human rights abuses, including forced labour and torture. Hong Kong media mogul Jimmy Lai, along with two other prominent activists, has been found guilty for taking part in a vigil to mark the Tiananmen massacre. They were among thousands who defied a ban last June. New COVID restrictions are being introduced in England, but critics say that the announcement by Boris Johnson is aimed at deflecting attention away from a growing political scandal involving a Christmas party at Downing Street last year. And New Zealand's enacting legislation that will make it impossible for young people to buy cigarettes with a view to making the country almost entirely smoke-free.
The first ever Summit for Democracy, hosted by U.S. President Joe Biden, has gotten underway. About 110 world leaders are attending the two-day virtual meeting.
Democracies are not all the same. We don't agree on everything, all of us in this meeting today. But the choices we make together are going to define, in my view, the course of our shared future for generations to come. And as a global community for democracy, we have to stand up for the values that unite us. We have to stand for justice and the rule of law, for free speech, free assembly, a free press, freedom of religion, and for all the inherent human rights of every individual.
Officials in Washington say the focus will be on authoritarianism, fighting corruption, and promoting human rights. Biden has not invited China or Russia. Officials in his administration have called U.S. relations with the two countries a battle between democracy and autocracy. The officials say Beijing and Moscow have been trying to undermine democracies by targeting journalists and interfering in other countries' elections. Ambassadors from the two nations denounced the summit in a recent joint statement. The U.S. administration is also expected to explain its decision to hold a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Winter Games to protest China's human rights abuses in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region and elsewhere. The Chinese real estate developer Evergrande Group has seen its financial position deteriorate even further. Fitch Ratings has downgraded its credit rating to RD, meaning restricted default. The downgrade by the major ratings agency comes after media reports that Evergrande had missed the Monday deadline to pay about $82 million in interest on its dollar-denominated corporate bonds. Fitch says the company failed to respond to its request for confirmation on the coupon payments. It says the company has not yet entered into bankruptcy filings. The property giant last week said it would negotiate a debt restructuring plan, including a review of payment terms with offshore creditors. Evergrande is based in Guangdong province. The government there said it's going to send a working group to the company to oversee risk management. A growing number of countries have decided not to send government officials to the Beijing Winter Olympics with less than 2 months to go. Canada and Britain are the latest nations, along with the U.S. and Australia, to announce a diplomatic boycott. The country's leaders say they made the decision because of alleged human rights abuses against Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities in China. New Zealand has also confirmed it will not send top diplomats to the Games, but cited concerns over COVID-19. The countries say they will send their athletes as planned.
There will be effectively a diplomatic boycott of the Winter Olympics in Beijing. No ministers are expected to attend. What I think the House and no officials.
In response to the moves, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin says that no invitation had been extended to those government officials. He also says the countries are using the Games for political maneuvering and that they'll have to pay a price for what he called their mistaken acts. Despite the boycott, the International Olympic Committee insists it will not affect China's ability to hold the event.
We have been concerned with the athletes. We welcome that they can participate.
The whereabouts of Chinese tennis player Peng Shuai has also triggered global concerns. She dropped out of public view after posting a message on social media alleging the country's former vice premier had sexually assaulted her. The president of the IOC says he's spoken twice with Peng over the telephone, but human rights organizations have called on the Chinese government to provide further proof that Peng is safe. Meanwhile, the U.S. House of Representatives has unanimously adopted a resolution criticizing the IOC's handling of the issue. The resolution says the IOC has legitimized China's claims about Peng's safety. It also calls on China to open a transparent investigation into Peng's allegations. Well, the diplomatic boycott was taken up Thursday at a diet discussion in Japan. The leader of an opposition party pressed the prime minister on Japan's stance.
To avoid sending the wrong message to the international community that Japan condones China's human rights issues, Japan should consider a diplomatic boycott as well.
We will address serious human rights violations through joint efforts among all government agencies. We will also work in close cooperation with the US and other friends and allies to voice objections. As for the Beijing Games, we will make a decision on our own at an appropriate time, considering various factors comprehensively and in light of national interests.
An official of the junior party in the ruling coalition urged Kishida to pursue closer dialogue with the United States and China.
I hope you will visit the U.S. soon for a summit with President Biden. At a time of deteriorating U.S.-China relations and China's military buildup and human rights issues, it's important for Japan to hold talks and have working-level cooperation with China in an appropriate manner.
I will visit the U.S. as soon as possible to talk with President Biden and strengthen the deterrence and capability of the Japan-U.S. alliance based on the relationship of trust that the two countries have built. To China, we will say what we ought to say and urge it to act responsibly. In the meantime, we'll work together on shared concerns. We aim to build constructive and stable relations.
Turning now to Myanmar, where multiple media sources are reporting that 11 people detained by the military in the country's northwest have been found dead with their bodies burned. The military is denying the reports. The media, citing local residents, said troops raided a village on Tuesday in the Sagaing region, where they captured 11 people, including 5 boys under the age of 18. Their charred bodies were discovered after the troops had left. The reports added that the victims were probably tied up, beaten, and burned alive. The region has recently seen fierce fighting between the military and militia groups opposed to military rule. Local media report that a military convoy was attacked on the same day near the village where the alleged killings took place. But a military spokesperson said the reports are fabricated. A United Nations spokesperson said the UN is deeply concerned by reports of the horrific killings.
We strongly condemn such violence and remind Myanmar's military authorities of their obligation under international law to ensure the safety and protection of civilians. Those individuals responsible for this heinous act must be held to account.
Japan's Empress Masako marked her 58th birthday on Thursday. She started the day by receiving greetings from Crown Prince Akishino at the Imperial Palace. The Empress later visited Emperor Naruhito's parents for the first time since March of last year. She hadn't been able to visit them because of the coronavirus pandemic. In a statement, the Empress said the pandemic situation remains unpredictable. She expressed her sympathies to people who've been economically or socially affected. She also mentioned her daughter, Princess Aiko, who turned 20 and reached the age of adulthood last week. The Empress said she hopes her daughter will continue to experience life and mature so she can fulfill her duties as an adult member of the imperial family. The Imperial Household Agency also released a statement from the medical team for Empress Masako. She was diagnosed with a stress-related illness 18 years ago. The doctors say she's still recovering and her health condition fluctuates. Former U.S. Ambassador to Japan, Caroline Kennedy, has received a Japanese declaration for enhancing relations between the two countries. Kennedy received the Grand Cordon of the Order of the Rising Sun in a ceremony Wednesday at the official residence of the Japanese Consul General in New York. She's the daughter of the late U.S. President John F. Kennedy. She was ambassador in Tokyo for more than 3 years from November 2013. Kennedy helped arrange a visit by then-President Barack Obama to Hiroshima in 2016. She also helped arrange a visit by then-Japanese Prime Minister Abe Shinzo to Pearl Harbor later that year.
I am so deeply grateful to the government of Japan for this very, very great honor. This award will only strengthen my commitment to work harder to strengthen the bond of friendship between our two peoples.
Since leaving her post as ambassador, Kennedy has stayed involved with exchanges between American and Japanese students. Snowy and stormy weather has been battering the western and southern regions of Europe. Our meteorologist Sayaka Mori has a look at the forecast in World Weather.
Hello there. After making landfall in the British Isles, the storm Barra buffeted Spain as well as Italy with cold weather. Take a look at this video. Storm Barra brought severe conditions to parts of southern Europe this week. In northern Spain, people have been asked to travel carefully on major roads. Meanwhile, residents of Milan enjoyed their first snowfall of the season. A square certainly had a Christmas feel after the blanket of snow. We have another system already affecting Western Europe. This system will cause snowy weather over the Pyrenees. Maybe up to 30 centimeters or even more is possible. We have another snowstorm drifting over Central Europe. Austria might see up to 30 centimeters of snow into Friday. Croatia could see very gusty conditions on your Friday. It'll be another chilly day. Moscow, only 13 degrees for the high on Friday, and in the single digits in Rome with a possibility of rain on the last day of the business week. Meanwhile, Juneau had 144 centimeters of snow from November 1st to December 7th. That's the second snowiest early winter on record. More snow is on the way. We have a blizzard warning in place across southwestern parts of Alaska, and Juneau could see an additional 18 centimeters of snowfall into Friday. It'll be very cold later this week and into the weekend. Anchorage, minus 18 is expected for the daytime high on both Sunday and Monday. That's about 15 degrees colder than normal for this time of year. Be careful of a frostbite. Meanwhile, Tokyo will continue to see sunny weather into next week, but Sapporo will see a significant cool change on Monday. That's it for me. Have a nice day.